Hello and welcome back to Thursday Champ. We are here today, round 5 at the Nürburgring. I am joined by the good old Austin Devonshire. Hello, Austin.
Hi, thank you for having me. And no, last week, remembering last week down at Silverstone, we had fighting for the top three. We had Verstappen, we had Fischer, and we had Boardman, with of course Daly and Tom Bryant were taking in the podium for the second race last week at a changing conditions Silverstone. And here we are, the final round. And we have four championships now to decide. We've got GT4 for Pro Class, Silver Class, and the two classes of BMW Cup Series. And I'm excited, Ted. How are you feeling?
I'm really excited as well, and I forgot to introduce myself. Yes, it's just me and Austin today. Austin's on doing the commentary, and I'm joined with him doing the commentary and the cameras. Not sure where the Jesse Lee is. This is why we've had a bit of a late start. That's why you see Tom Bryant going for a little bit of a drift by the looks of it, but yeah, so we're a little bit late, but we're just come to the end of the TCX qualifying, and GT4s will start in a few minutes' time. The Benjamin Harleman up there with the top spot, 4/10 clear of Healy. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one today, Austin.
Yeah, it certainly is. Obviously, we're now watching obviously how the qualifying. We should probably explain how the qualifying segment actually works, just in case you guys have forgotten over the last week. We have the M2s that take the first 10 minutes. Obviously, we're a bit late, so you're catching the end of the M2 class, and you see a group of GT4 sat in the pits there. Now they are waiting to go out in the final 10 minutes of this session. Hellman coming in, as you say, Ted, with a half-second gap, so a fairly sizable gap around here at Nürburgring. And Healy following behind, Bork following behind, and Tom Bryant in Verona and Tom Bryant following very closely up in 4th and 5th.
Yeah, as we know, Tom Bryant's won a few races, and I was speaking to him earlier on, and the reason why he won is because it was in the wet. We realised. So if it rains today, then that's gonna suit him very well. And see Verona here just invalidating that lap, and that was a quicker lap. But head over to Stewie just to finish this bit off. As we can see, the GT4s are now on their way. But yeah, it's pretty close all round. Tom Bryant's obviously at the minute, as we know, is sitting in third, so he's got good, but he's trying to keep away from Benjamin Harleman, who's right behind him. I think about like 10 points difference. But we'll get into the the standings in about 9 minutes time. We are in the qualifying, Austin, but
we are.
but
sorry, I interrupted you, so Ted, you go first.
well, I was just looking at the times in TCX, and I'm thinking there's big gaps between first, second, and third, and obviously further back it's not too bad. But I think it's because it was the green track and went to fast, and it's not optimum. There's not all the grip there, and TCXs don't have aero. They have less aero than GT4s, and they hardly got any. They've just got rear wing, maybe a little bit of a splitter, maybe a really small diffuser, but they've got nothing. It's just a road car with a bit of, I don't even think it's got racing brakes on. It's probably got the racing pads on, at least, but, it's just got slick tyres on, and,
yeah, they'll have racing pads, very dependent on mechanical grip, I think we've said a few times in this series, but no, you're completely right there, Ted. The thing about the TCXs, though, as well, is that they are fairly evenly balanced. Obviously, it's the same car for everyone on the grid, so where Hellman's been able to really take advantage of that fast track. Really good observation there, though. Where Hellman's been able to take advantage of that fast track. The other guys maybe just haven't quite, or maybe they've struggled, with like lapping validations, and it's important. It's another reason why it's important to get that banker lap in, as we're seeing Svenchek doing in that out lap, I believe, at this point. A little bit of a weaving, warming up the tyres, and looking to set the first flying lap of the GT4s.
yeah, they're all got a flying lap. Was it the 26 will be the first one to get a lap? So Stefan Kui, I think that's how the last name. But yeah, so that will be the first GT4 to start their proper lap. And I see Daly's backing off, letting the car go through.
Yeah, maybe trying to generate just a little bit of clear air there. Looking at the 197 on the track map on the right hand side there, you can see that the last in that train, so letting the I believe it's the 699 through. Looking on my screen, yeah, it's just of John Eraser. So Daly will be letting Eraser through. through the final chicane, having warmed up the tyres, maybe dragging the brakes a little bit, and I'm presuming that we full send after the chicane here. Come on, Daly, don't prove me wrong here, full send. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, there's the brake dragging, warming up the tyres, keeping some temperature in despite the lower speed, and then we'll be looking to go full attack for this next lap of for the bank lap for for the first lap of qualifying.
Yeah, I think Daly did that just because when everyone's bunched up ready to do their first lap, they all get very at the last corner they start stacking, and that's the thing that's I've seen a lot recently in most of the ACC qualifying sessions. Anywhere you go is people start to stack a bit when they're really close, and it can get annoying. So I think Daly's just gone for the safer option of, well, I don't want to get stuck behind someone that I'm probably faster than, and to get a bad qualifying start for the first lap, and just sit way back, you know, and then just go for it.
Though, is it? It's if you fall over someone halfway through the lap, then you put all that work in for a flying lap, and then that kind of progress is sort of undone when you kind of run into a back marker. So having all that clear, I mean, you can see it now if you look at the track map again. Delhi on the run down to the hairpin, huge gap in front of them, and that means it's just unhindered space. Only 6 minutes left, so it's unlikely they'll catch up to the cars in front. I see Simei Foch, obviously double winner here at for Monza in this championship in that KTM. A shock victory, really. I believe is that Fischer in the background flashing the lights. Very unhappy about something.
I think they were just telling the car on the side just to watch out on coming through.
Yeah, possibly. That is a good point, though. We are in a situation where this is a night race as well. I mean, in case you guys couldn't tell, but that will reduce visibility, and it does make racing around here very interesting.
Yes, we have first few people come across the finish line, and we see Verstappen as 26. Sorry, not a 26. That's a 2 minute 6. 2 minute 6.297. It was just beaten by Andy Boardman with 2:05.757. That's half a second in front of Verstappen and Borodai. So there's obviously time on the track. It just depends. We know the Porsche is good around most of the tracks in the GT4 class, but can anyone else beat them?
That is it. I mean, Boardman being very dominant throughout consistently in the top 3, I would say, throughout most of this championship. Simei Foch not far behind either, but the top 3 right now. Borodai last week was getting the nose involved for a podium. I believe actually got a podium in race 2 after post-race penalties and not post-race penalties, so drive-through penalties. So the track limits came into play at Silverstone as well, and I'm not sure if we'll see as many this week. Obviously, with the chicane, it's very easy to take way too much of the inside curbs and run a little bit wide. But no, Verstappen as well. It's worth noting as well. Verstappen and Borodai within within a tenth of a second of each other for second and third. So in a half second gap with 4 minutes left. Boardman isn't safe either.
No, it's. We've got to see who can go faster, because obviously we see here Fischer is quite far back, is just under the TCX times of 2 minute 10, so there was obviously a faster lap in there. I can't see why they would be this far back, but it could be pressures. It's a weird one to get to. Obviously between fast track and optimum track there's different grip levels. With a fast track you would have your pressures up a bit more because you're not going to get them warm enough because you're not using the grip on the track, whereas an optimum track you'll be using those tyres a lot more. So I'm going to say it's maybe if the tyres letting go and not getting the grip. So there you go, a 2 minute 5.222, the triple quack of the ducks there. So half a second in front of Boardman. It's all changed around.
Yeah, I mean, Fischer, I mean, you're all talking about dominance. I mean, Fischer's certainly proven that over the last few weeks. Half a second ahead of Boardman, and almost a full second here of Simei Foch as well. Simei Foch was running around in P5, say P4, P5, with Borodai and Verstappen dropping down the order a bit there. Yet to improve by losing it on a full 3 tenths of a second to Simei Foch, so they'll be looking to improve the times because I believe these guys are in the fight for the overall championship. So tonight is going to be, I mean, across both races, is going to be majorly important for all these drivers.
Yeah, as we know, it's the final of season. I believe this is season 8 Thursday Champ. So there will be a season 9. Tom Bryant has given me the information, which we will read out in one of the races, maybe both races, and definitely at the end. So keep an eye out for that and stay tuned because it looks like it's going to be a good one. But for the time being, 2 minutes and 8 seconds of qualifying left for the GT4s. Obviously, T6s have finished. There is 2 GT4s that still haven't done a time. Jelly Verstretten and
Stephen Quee, yeah, in
Stephen
the
Quee, sorry.
Stephen Quee in the 26 Camaro. So, I mean, I was saying about track limits here, maybe posing an issue in the final 2 turns. Now, we're not sure if even in the Mercedes arena, that's also quite a complex section. But not sure if these guys have been caught out by that. But they have failed to get their banker lap in, which means that as we've seen in previous races, this could be a problem for the 67 and the 26 cars.
Yeah, well, we see here Christopher Streppen. I see the time. There's in a minute, a second up on the Delta. So let's see what they cross with. Oh, that's a close one. 2:05.345, 1/10 off of Fischer. So that's very close. But then, where's Boardman? Boardman doesn't have an answer right now. I don't think anyone has an answer to these two guys at the top. Both in the Aston Martin. Bear that in mind.
Yeah, the Aston, a very strong car, but Verstappen closing the gap to just below, just over a tenth of a second, sorry. Bowman half a second behind, so needs to really respond with something if they're looking to improve on that position for both races. That's Stephen Key setting a time there into P6, but immediately knocked down into P7 by Jordan Daly in the Triple R car, the 197, doing a 2:06.3. So just over a second off the pole sitter of Gert Fischer here. I mean, 30 seconds left. I mean, it's still, you know, Fischer's position isn't safe at the moment, really, is it?
No, not really. It's 20 seconds left. They all still got a lap. Daly has just done a slide there. So unless he made a mistake somewhere else in the course, then maybe his lap is finito. But I do see Samir Foch is up on their time, and Tom Watts is up on their time. So there's a few of them up on their times with a good a good amount of temps in there. Obviously, commentator's curse, they might ruin it in this last lap as see the 69 has just invalidated and yellow flagged. The 942 also has invalidated their lap, which was Tom Watts, so they were up on their time. And yeah, that's
Really
understandable.
hasn't. Yeah, it really hasn't been Tom Watts' season since he came back, has it? Obviously, wasn't present here for Monza, came back for Silverstone, got, it's safe to say, a little bit bullied throughout both races, and yeah, look, obviously, for finishing P10 here, I mean, it's not impossible to kind of catch up. Azure, again, I pointed this out a couple of times now. Azure in silver class, punching way above their weight. Obviously, we have some sign outs in silver as well, so we don't have Grim Lilith here either. Grim was really keeping Azure honest. But without the challenge, obviously, Azure really punching up there with the pro class cars, and sat there in P8 in that McLaren. John Eraser, can he make any more of the time? Coming around the final corner, coming across the line, what will it be? Let's find out.
Sixth
There it is, and
place.
that's 6th place. That's a big jump there, Ted, and wow.
Yeah, that's a pretty big jump right there as we see top 10 Fisher, Verstappen, Foch, Boardman and Borodai. And we've got Razor Daily, Quee, Goat and Watts for GT4. And then for TCX we have Harleman, Healy, Bock, Verona, Bryant, Huell, Eric, Dominus and Alessio. So that's all your TCXs. I can't remember how many TCXs are, but there's not many compared to GT4. But that is after qualifying. As
I mean, sorry, Ted.
we quickly show you the standings. Carry on, see. What
Now,
were we gonna say?
I was going to say, not as many TCX cars, but we still have a pretty stacked grid, all things considered. I mean, I think we're going to see some good racing. Nürburgring, quite a compact track. Obviously, not using the Nordschleife as I think is mandatory to say here on this game. We're only using the GP circuit, but it's a very compact circuit when it all comes down to it. So, I'm expecting traffic to be an issue here as well, Ted.
Yeah, that's true. Well, here we go. Here are the standings. And the GT4 Pro, we have Verstappen on 268 points. Fischer on 260, so that's a very close battle for first there in GT4 Pro. We've got Boardman, Borodai, 207 and 194. Eraser on 171. Stefan Kui on 157, joint with Will Stevenson on the 157 as well. So it's joint sixth. Bosch, Verstretten, and Lawrence are 145, 117, and 92. That's your top 10 for GT4 Pro. And we have Sven Czech, Watts Daily, 84, 75, and 57. So it's pretty close between most of the drivers, but that is all we have for the Pro class. As we come on to the Silver, we only have 4 here. We have Goat on 279, Adam Charlie on 221, and Bart Matcher on 206, and Alexander has 0, and everyone else has signed out of Silver.
Which is a shame to see. There was some great battles there in Silver, and obviously we're not going to be treated to that tonight to find out who wins these championships. Dom Healy came in for Paul Ricard, I believe, leading the TCX Pro class with 278 points, very closely followed by Marco Ripper with 264. Either of these guys could win this tonight. Tom Bryant with 217 points. Haleman with 210, and then P5 you've got Christian Brock with 186. P6 Andrew Verona with 160, and Daniel Waldecker coming in P7 with 154 points. Arnett coming in P8 with 115, and a fellow German Raphael Huell coming in P9 with 102 points, and P10 rounding out the top 10 is Dominicus with 86 points. With the second page now, we've already got 2 more drivers with points, and that is Ardito with 68 in 11th place. In 12th place, we have Jan Yeo with 58 points, and the final 2 with Reshinov and Chamberlain have signed out for this event. Now on to the AM class, only have 2 cars racing, and that will be Ian Marshall in first place. In second place, Jenna Sommer, and the rest of them have signed out for this for the series. So I mean, that's all she wrote there.
Yeah, there's a few people missing, but that's what happens towards the end of a series. Is a few people can't make it, or they've had bad races. Something in life could happen. What happens? But we still have a pretty big grid of 23 cars here tonight, which is pretty lovely.
Yeah, I mean, 23 cars is still a lot to a finale, and I think we should really hype this up a little bit more because, I mean, end of the day, this is the season finale, and the positions aren't solidified here at all. I mean, obviously Fischer, a bit ahead with the points there, but it is close for the GT4 class. I mean, if Fischer has a bad race, and we have seen that here before, I mean, we could be handing the championship here to Verstappen or Boardman.
Well, yeah, exactly. They're very close, and the same as said with TCX with third place. There is Tom Bryant and Benjamin Holman. I think it was like 7 points difference if I have a quick look back in my brain. Yeah, 217 for Bryant and 210 for Holman. So this race is everything for Bryant. He didn't think he was going to come and race tonight, and then he realised the standings, goes, oh yeah, I think I should come and race. But he's not been so strong on dry tracks, and as we can see, the next half an hour is dry, and we just have to see how he can do.
That's it, and if the guys ahead of him, you have a bad race. I mean, Tom Bryant currently sitting, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in class right now. Looking down the order in my on my little standings thing here. No, for sitting 5th in class, I mean, they're still on track for a podium. And if people in front have a bad race, obviously Hellman, kind of not really all that there on the standings either. So, I mean, don't count Bryant out. And with race 2, we don't know the weather conditions for that, so we could be seeing. I mean, Bryant will be doing a bit of a rain dance. I can imagine. But Gert Fischer obviously coming onto the back straight now, ready to set the pace and start this. I mean, final round. I mean, what's your thoughts, Ted?
It's going to be interesting because last time I was just using the cameras and I totally forgot what happened last race, to be honest. But yeah, it's going to be interesting today. I think final round, all points to gain for. And seeing chat, Wolf Motorsport said the KTM is up there again. Yeah, Foch in third in round 3 Monza. They just look, he was first in qualifying, and yeah, he's not really in the points, as to say, but he has had a win under his belt, and that was at Monza again, so he got pole and he won. So what can that KTM do around here tonight? We'll just have to wait and see as the cars come in up to the last corner now, and 2 Aston Martins in the lead with a KTM and a Porsche behind. Have to see what happens.
It's a beautiful sight. I'm loving the flash of pink there on the back of the 70 on the rear wing. It's just an in-game livery, it's great, but let's not talk about liveries right now because we are about to cross the line. The cars lining up side by side, back and forth, going double file as we wait for the green light. There it is. Fischer will be leading off the green light. Verstappen getting an amazing start, pulling ahead of Fischer there, going on the run down to T1. Who's going to break later? It's going to be a case of who can outbrake who. Another car's behind looking for a way around Fischer, taking the inside line. But I think it's Boardman looking for a cheeky outside line there as well. To be a Foch taking the inside. Managing to make, I believe that is, no, not able to make the move, but the 2 Astons still going side by side, going through the Mercedes arena, going down towards turn 4, and Fischer pulling a little bit of a lead there, but the other guy's not far behind at all.
Yeah, it's very close here, and all driving very sensibly. You've got cold tyres, it's a fast track, there's not much grip, and very well played to all drivers so far in both class of cars. And we see in the background the cones go flying as they normally do here. But yeah, it's not doing so bad at the minute. Obviously, this is still halfway in, so.
Yeah, no, only just starting the first lap of this race, and not too many dramatics at the start there, which the stewards will be pleased to see. Like, it keeps them. Gives them a job less to do, and they can sit back and just watching the racing. Of course, live stewarding not a thing for tonight. That will be it is stewarded, but it will happen later on. So in the next coming days. So it gives our stewards a bit of a break, gives them a chance to actually watch the racing with us. And there's lots to be a Foch looking on the outside. It might be, but not close enough to make a move. And just tucking back in, settling into P3, but having to go defensive against Boardman behind.
Yeah, we'll see. Fischer has got a half-second gap at the minute, so if these guys keep fighting, then yeah, he's just going to keep running away.
That's it. Fischer will just run away with it, and a lot of particle effects going on there in the background. They're very difficult to see what's actually going on, but we're actually watching the TCX cars. This is Haleman chasing down Dom Healy. So at some point, Dom Healy has gotten by Haleman, who qualified in P1. Bryant's still in P5. The order not changed for the top 5 other than the top 2 cars. Haleman looking for a move on the inside and just being shut off, able to get the car stopped in time, avoiding contact, and you start to see the gap between the GT4 cars and the TCX there.
Yeah, they're not that much faster, but over a lap it's about 4 seconds. It's not as fast as, let's say, GT3s, but there is still. It's still a big gap over many laps. Maybe we'll see. I don't think we'll see them lap the TCXs yet, but it's only a 20-minute race. But
I don't know if they'll lap them during the 20-minute, but definitely in the 40-minute in race 2. Obviously, race 2, longer race, worth more points, and that is what these guys will be. That's what these guys will be focusing on. That, I believe, is Bryant making a move.
Oh no.
No, that's contact. That's the 42 making contact with you. I didn't see what number that was, but no, it's, do you know what? I think we just cursed out by Tom, Ted. We're sat there, we're singing all the praise. And,
so that was contact with the 27, who is Alessio. Yeah. So I think what happened there is his internet decided, oh, I'm going to be stupid now.
Yeah, you saw Byron's car just kind of like, just almost hopped to the left there a little bit. And I'm not sure if that was a result of the contact or whether that's what caused the contact. But either way, that is the 42 car of Tom Byron rammed at the Mercedes arena, and that will put them back at the back of the grid. And where it's that saying, they've got the points to play for, and tonight is a possibility if the guys in front have a bad race, and it seems to be like we've kind of reversed that a little bit and put all the bad luck onto Byron. So sorry, dude.
Yeah, it's always happens to Tom, isn't it? So he's in it. So he's like, "Oh, you're racing. Oh, I'm not going to work properly now." That's all that contact was. I don't think Tom was doing anything wrong. It must have gone on his end as well. No one was there. Next minute, there was someone there. So these things happen. It's a shame. He's if he can get some, I think he's in the points as it is. I'm not sure. I think it's top 15. So he's got points. Let's hope he can get more points in the next race. But we've still got 15 minutes of this race left. Anything can happen. It doesn't mean being at the back doesn't mean anything nowadays.
That's it, and obviously we're saying every point counts, but race 2 is worth more than race 1, so it's not all over for Byron. Not by any means. Benjamin Harmon still chasing down Dom Healy for the lead of the TCX class. And these cars, they race so well. They can follow each other so close. And we've noted that on tracks like Monza, like Silverstone, like Paul Ricard, these guys don't really benefit too much from the slipstream. I think they just run out the end of gearing before they can really take advantage of it. But what it does mean that side by side in the corners and following in the corners, we're treated to some amazing racing. And that's what these guys are certainly delivering for us right now.
Yeah, we see Tom Bryan is coming to pit lane to, I guess, repair his damage, because technically he was inside another car. That's not great, so there'll be a lot of damage for him to repair, but hopefully he carries on, and I believe he will. There's still going to be points in it. And, yeah, as you say, these two are racing very well. Got away 4 seconds to Verona, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of running away with it a bit right now. And speaking of running away with it, Gert Fischer with fastest lap of the race so far out in front, a full 1.2 seconds ahead of Verstappen. So again, we've seen this before with Fischer. If you let Fischer get ahead, Fischer will just run away with whatever position you give him, and that's exactly what's happening this race too up at the front. But no, obviously right now the battling really happening between. The battling really happening between these TCX cars right now.
Yeah, I see, and I see Katrina Scott in chat has just said, I see a lot of BMWs. Yes, well, the back half of the grid here from 15th to 23rd is all the M2s, the TCX class, and the only car in that class is the BMW M2. Basically, a nice little road car, and it's very nice to look at. But it sounds very nice. So they are just basically doing their little cup race at the back of the field with the GT4s at the front. So that is what this Thursday Champ is all about.
Yeah, it does also pose a bit of a challenge for the GT4s as well. When you get up to the traffic, how you deal with that traffic? We've seen it before. I believe it was at Paul Ricard. Gert Fischer using the traffic to huge effect to pull ahead of, I believe it was Boardman. Obviously, very close race up until that point, but that traffic management on the GT4 side, it can be everything, and how you get around it. Obviously, you can be ahead, and not manage traffic as well, and lose that position quite easily. So it sort of negates pace a little bit if you know what you're doing, and that's exactly what makes Thursday Championship so interesting.
Exactly. I've never participated in a Thursday Champ. Unfortunately, I'm normally working at this time, but it is holidays for us at the minute, so I'm off. And yeah, it's nice to watch. I have watched a few. Obviously, last week I was the Mr. Cameraman like I am today, and just sat back and chillaxed. But it's pretty it's pretty nice to watch, and it's different because you've got two races in one go basically. You've got GT4s and you've got your TCXs, and it's nice to switch back between both of them. There's so much battling going on. As you see here, there's still battling going on. You've got Tom Watts trying to get after Daly in the Alpine, trying to chase down that M4. I believe it's an M4, am I right, Austin?
Yeah, that will be an M4, the M4 of Tom Daly. Tom Watts, obviously been P10, was P10, but made up to P9 now. Azure Goat having gone down the field as well, actually just over 2 seconds away from Van der Wood. So I'm wondering if something's happened to Azure to cost them those positions, or whether or not they've just been overtaken by the pro cars. They were fighting up there before, so I'm just wondering what's happened there. But they are ahead. They are ahead in their class, and I think this will have sealed their championship anyway, and Azure will likely, if not already, been crowned the champion of silver. Tom Mott still on the back of Daly, though, going through into the Mercedes arena. Alpine very, very agile in the slow speed corners, so they should actually have the BMW licked, but the BMW not able to find a way around the 26 Camaro of Stephen Key either. So a lot of cars here, a lot of strengths and weaknesses all bunching together, and with 10 minutes of the race left remaining, you know, this order could be shifted up quite drastically.
Yeah, it's a load of battles going on. Very nice driving. Have not, fingers crossed, seen the yellow flag as of yet. I think some people have obviously maybe got a track or two, you know, just trying to keep up with people, and you know, as I say, last round, all points were up for grabs. But yeah, everyone's doing so well. This is probably the most clean race I've seen for a while. But not to say that other champs we do are bad. It's just normally we see a few incidents by now. But I think being in slower cars, you tend to take more time because you need to get better entries and exits of corners. And you ain't got the speed, you ain't got the downforce. So it's...
I mean, I'm sorry, Ted, for interrupting. I'd argue the opposite a little bit.
You argue the opposite?
I'd say these cars have so much mechanical grip that, you know, you can get kind of more shoulders out, kind of run side by side with people. But I think, again, I think what it might be is, you know, the skill ceiling of drivers that we actually have here on the grid right now, and even the RCI in general, you know, these guys know how to race. You know, these guys have a lot of passion behind them, and, you know, we have seen, you know, some fairly messy first lap races, but then again, look at professional racing in real life. That also happens. When you've got guys with a lot of passion and, you know, very competitive with what they do, you know, then these mistakes sometimes do unfortunately happen. I mean, sometimes it's great for us as spectators because it makes things a little bit juicy. I mean, to say the least. But so I think, you know, as much as I don't want to say some people, you know, thrive or crave the kind of drama that brings. But no, you know, these guys know what they're doing. You know, these guys are good at what they do. They've got this passion behind them, but they're able to sort of also curb that competitiveness as well. And it just means that we have more racing later on in the race. Seeing the dirt kicked up there by what it is, I believe that's Dominicus and the TCX up in front. I mean, it's been fairly uneventful this first race, but it's been great all at the same time, Ted.
Yeah, you can have like slow races, if you like, where everyone's just racing. There's not really any moves being made. You know, people not trying to get into like a tiny gap into a corner or whatever. It's just clean racing, and it may seem boring, but from the driver's point of view, this is not boring. You know, they're trying to get everything they can out of their car, trying to make sure they're getting every corner right, every exit right. Braking points, it's in the dark. That's another thing as well. You got to think about Austin, isn't it? Is
of course, yeah.
Your braking point changes, because I know some people use different parts of the, you know, sometimes shadows, sometimes gantries. Exactly.
Those cones we saw on lap one. That, you know, that's drivers making the most of the track, but the end of those cones is typically your braking spot for that corner. And, you know, you lose that, and, you know, obviously, as you say, Ted, you know, you lose your braking zone, and that makes life a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah, here we see Jordan Daly going for a move around the outside, coming up to the chicane. Oh, can he?
Done,
oh, bit of rubbing.
Bit of contact there between the...
where's Tom Watts going?
I think Tom Watts just lost it on the curb, and the Alpine behind, and...
Let's have a quick look back at this, because that was not expected. So... Did he just lose a rear end? Did he just flick it too much? I wonder.
I think he hit the curbstone on the inside curb there. So we see the cars in front. They make contact. Yeah, there we go. Lifts the Alpine just a little bit too high on the curb. Slams back down. Keeps it out of the wall, but puts it into the grass. And all that work to kind of maintain and gain positions lost. And that will be Azure Goat in P10 in the silver class, heading by Tom Watts there, and being promoted into the overall top 10, as we see Benjamin Hellman still chasing down Dom Healy, sorry. getting my names mixed up in the BMWs there. But still Hellman chasing down, pulled a bit of a gap on Hellman as the 40th of Healy.
So
he down into T1 and...
Yeah, sorry, I was about to cut you off then, but yeah,
no worries.
Healy was a second ahead of Hellman a lap or two ago, and Alman's just brought it back. Last laps, both of them are both invalidated. 2 minute 12.2 and a 2 minute 11.9. So Benjamin going faster. I think over the past three laps, just getting some of that time back, but still within about half a second of Healy. Now, half a second doesn't seem long, but it is. You could fit another car in there, but half a second's pretty far, isn't it, Austin? You know,
It is.
Coming up to the line, you're half a second behind. You're not gonna overtake them.
Yeah, half a second doesn't feel like all that long when you're watching, but when you're driving, half a second is. I mean, it's a position at the end of the day. Hellman will want to be past Healy here right now, and no, half a second, as you say, Ted, it's a huge gap. But at the same time, you really don't want to follow too much closer for a sustained period, because you need to give yourself room to brake, as we see Byron having a bit of a wiggle there, and I think that this is Samir Foch behind. So we said before we wouldn't see any lapped cars, but that mistake or that contact with Tom Bryant and the pit stop, that has put them into a position where they're being swamped by the GT4 cars now.
Dear.
And that's Jordan Daly in the pit. So I'm wondering if that was contact between themselves and Stephen Key. Stephen Key has been overtaken by Azure Goat as well as being the marker stone running in the top 10. Here we have the move again on the outside.
Earlier.
No, yeah, this is where we saw Tom Watts lose it as well. So what's happened to Jordan Daly, Ted?
I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back a minute, I'm afraid, because I don't have this. We'll have to keep an eye of what's happening, but it shouldn't be too far now. But yeah, we see Jordan Daly. It said on my Delta that he was in the pits, and I'm like, why? Oh dear, where's he going?
That's
and I want to know why he's in. Oh, he's rolling into pit lane. So this is why it picked up on my Delta. Now he was.
I'm wondering.
Is he giving up? Yeah, he's given up.
Yeah, I think he made a mistake and wound up in pit lane and just lost the time. And again, with so little of the race remaining, like less than 5 minutes at this point, or around 5 minutes, maybe you ask why bother try to chase for points? That might just not happen in this race. So again, race 2 will be coming up soon, and that will be something they'll be looking ahead to.
Yeah, so I see, so Daly and Tom Bryant are, oh, here we go, Andy Bourne making a move on Foch. We've just seen in the replay there, so when I cut back in the replay, Bourne was behind Foch, and now it's taken for P3. Big moves by the Porsche driver there. It's got 3 minutes and 16 seconds left for Foch to try and make another move back for P3, but as I was saying, Daly and Tom Bryant both haven't had good races, both in different cars. Well, both in the BMWs, but in different classes. Tom in the TCX and Daly in the M4 GT4. But I have noticed on my Delta that apparently Martin Lawrence has joined this race a bit late. I think he's ready for race 2 though. Starting from the back of all of the cars. So this is yeah, this is now turning into a race we known. Yeah.
No, it's going to get a little bit spicy there for race 2. Obviously, Daly in the GT4 class in the BMW M4. It's the same car as what Jordan Daly's running, but starting at the back of the overall grid. So we'll be having to make their way through the TCX cars before the GT4s. But final rest of the season, 40 minutes. I mean, having a bit of fun with it. Joining a bit late, but better late than never. And that's what we like to see. That's the mentality we like to see here in the booth. Ardito coming up to Eric Arneck now, bouncing that TCX off the final chicane, looking for him over the inside, running down almost into pit road, almost making a very similar to mistake as Daly.
Oh,
I mean,
that looked a bit weird.
Was Arneck having a bad exit? That was a very odd sort of twitch there. It's usually seen that when a car loses the rear. And it did look like Ardito was about to put it into the wall.
I have just seen Bok. I think Bok was sideways in T1 as I look back on the replay. So Bok's in P3. I'm hoping they were just going slow. Was no yellow flag. I could be totally mistaken. And yeah, I was totally mistaken. Ignore me.
No worries, no worries, Ted. And it's great having the eyes of the broadcaster. You know, obviously we couldn't do this alone, and actually, it's broadcasting's a job I truly respect because you guys have eyes everywhere, pretty much to spot this, and you know, it's what makes these broadcasts happen. So. You know, Samir Foch running in P4, trying to chase down Boardman yet again. Boardman making the move as you saw a few laps ago. I mean, less than a minute remaining. Fischer bringing us onto the final lap of race 1. And proving once again, if you let Fischer run away, Fischer will run away with it. And the gaps in the top 3, very unlike Thursday Championship. You know, these guys aren't bunched up and it's fairly spaced out.
Yeah, no, this is I've never seen this camera in the KTM before. And yes, that is where the dash is for the KTM. It's in the center console. Very weird, but that's how you drive this thing. It's a weird car, but it is quite fun. But just want to point out the fastest lap. So Fischer has a Speedy's fastest lap for race 1 at the minute for GT4 class, and I believe Dom Healy has fastest lap for the TCX for this race at the minute with 2:11.8 over Benjamin Harman's 2:12.027. So it's close, I would say, in those cars because obviously they're cup cars. But I don't know if Stewie, you know, well, we call him Stewie, Benjamin can get that fastest lap, as we see KTM doing a bit of a slide right there.
Yeah, obviously Benjamin Hellman, Stewie, broadcaster for us at RCI, and also handles a lot of our web development as well. So, you know, Stewie has a big role here at RCI, and you know, quite an affectionate nickname. But no, obviously be able to take advantage of the fast track in qualifying, and during the race, obviously still a fast track, as I think Sebastian Brunier pointed out in the stream chat. And it seems that Healy has been able to take advantage of the conditions, as we see Fischer about to cross the line to win race 1. Quite a dominant lead, a 5.2 second lead ahead of Verstappen there. And there we go. That'll be Gert Fischer winning race 1. Obviously, the night's not over. We still have race 2. That's Verstappen coming in P2, Boardman coming in P3, closely followed by Samir Foch, and then John O'Razor following in the 699 McLaren as well, and Borodai not far behind that.
I see Foch was a bit angry there, which is understandable. You know, held P3 for a long time and got beaten out by Boardman in the Porsche, and we know the Porsche is a bit, you know, I say a bit good. It's very good around most tracks, and a lot of people don't really like the car, but it is what it is. And here comes Tom Bryant down in 22nd, bless him. Yeah, I don't blame you, Tom. Well,
No.
Congrats for like keeping going. That's the main thing.
Yeah, that never give up mentality. It's quite an important. It's a difficult one to have as well in moments like this. But it's safe to say, Tom Bryant, not last.
Not last, yes. Martin Lorenz obviously joined halfway through the race, or with like 5 minutes left, so not really in the race. But here we see Healy and Harman coming across the line. Healy takes first place over Harman. Very well done to take the top spot of Harman right there. You know, Harman just almost pushing him across. That was pretty nice to see. But yeah, Harman taking pole in qualifying, and then yeah, just Healy just takes it in the race.
And what a race it was. I mean, Healy and Hellman, you know, from lap 1 to the very end there, just really up into each other. Could have been anyone's race. And, I mean, you couldn't be treated to a more exciting race 1. And, you know, race 2 is going to be longer. We don't know the weather conditions. It could be spicy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm not sure if there's any rain. All we know so far is it's been dry.
Well, we'll find out, Ted. Running down the order, we've got Gert Fischer in P1, P2 Verstappen, P3 Andy Boardman, 4 is Samir Foch, 5 John O'Razor, 6 is Borodai, 7 Svenchek, 8th is Azure Goat, 9th is Tom Watt, and 10 is Verstraeten. That is your GT4 standings, and I'm trying to see all of where your TCX standings start. There we go. You have the 10 of your 10 TCX cars. You've got Heliod P1, Heilman P2, Bok P3, Fuzz Dominicus, 5 Raphael Huel, Arditoid P6, Arnek at 7, 8th is Verona, 9th Bryant, and 10 Marshall.
Yeah, well, a good race one so far. But I've heard someone walk in the door partway through that race, Austin. I believe Jesse Lee has decided to join us.
Well. Hello, everybody out there joining a little bit late. And I definitely remembered that there was still a Thursday championship going on. Austin and Ted alongside me. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, and here for the feature race. That was action packed, the end of race number one. Heilman just couldn't quite get the better of Dom GTR, as so many of us know him, and it's been back and forth between those two all season long. Very interesting. Also interesting, the overall championship for the pro cars in GT4. Fischer and Verstappen. If Fischer can do that one more time, guys, he's going to be champion.
Yeah, I mean, we've said before, if you allow Fischer the space, he'll take it, and Fischer's incredibly quick with clear air ahead. But as we saw at Silverstone, not infallible either. We saw Verstappen really squeeze by in race one, causing Fischer to take to the outside, losing the position, and kind of struggling a little bit from there. So, I mean, if you're Verstappen right now, you kind of need to replicate that. But being on the outside of T1, that's not going to be easy.
And as I said before at the start of the stream, I have some information of the next Thursday champ. The Thursday Season 9 Just GT forecast. Round 1 will start August 4th, starting at Indianapolis. That sounded wrong how I said that, but we'll go with that. Brands Hatch, Cota, Alton Park, Watkins Glen, and Donington Park. So it's a 6-round champ with it's a one race as well. There's not 2 races like we have here. One race, I think it's 40 minutes, half an hour, something like that. Not sure yet, but it will have a pit stop format of some kind. And also, before then, we have a Thursday one-off, 21st of July, 60 minutes Ferrari challenge around Bathurst. Both events sign-ups will open tomorrow evening, so yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I will repeat that at the end of the stream again.
That just sounds absolutely fantastic. Of course, a lot of the mid-season or mid-summer championships, I should call them, are quite short in length, but almost all of them incorporate at least one of the new American tracks from the DLC. And some of you might be wondering, well Jesse, Ted, I don't have that DLC. Well, that's okay. You can skip that round and run the other rounds. I know that a couple of the champs have standard tracks in them as well. Do as much as you can. That's kind of how it works. Ted, that sounds exciting, though. Maybe a shorter format race for Thursday. And, of course, we're used to short format here, but even still, a quick race every week. One shot to get it right.
Yeah, exactly. It's different for Thursday. I'm used to seeing 2 races for Thursday, and I know what Thursday champ is. When you say the 2 race format, but yeah, it's going to be different, and just GT4s is going to be something else. I know we had it before. I think season 7 was just GT4, season 6 one of them, but yeah, it's going back to its roots in a way.
A couple of really cool things that are coming up. Of course, obviously the Porsche Cup USA will be on Monday. They'll take a tour of America. I think they're going to visit Italy and Germany as well in that championship, the Friday GT America Championship. Now, that's very special for us, Ted. Explain to the folks at home.
Was this Friday? Sorry, I blanked. I was looking at my cameras. There's too many cameras to look at.
That's completely fine. The Friday GT America Challenge. We're going to hit the
yes. This is
and wait for it. We're going to bring it to you live. We didn't expect to be able to do that prior to last week, but we've somehow found a way just like love, and because of that, we will bring you that live tomorrow evening. Your first glimpse at the New America Tracks live in competition here on RCI TV. Like, subscribe, you're not going to want to miss that. Of course, Ted told you all about the Thursday championship. Can't keep my days straight. And on top of all of that, the Night Owl Summer Break, which Ted knows more about than I do. And of course, the APAC Piston Cup, which will start next week. I'm happy to report that as well. Will be live streamed on Twitch. We will give you more information about that. We've got a lovely Australian crew who will talk you through those races. I'm going to watch the Piston Cup myself, even though it's at a incredibly odd hour. It makes no difference to me. I have to see what the Asia Pacific drivers do with that. And of course, a brand new crew, fresh crew of broadcasters and commentators, all from Australia.
Yeah, it's always great seeing some new talent, and obviously new talent in terms of drivers as well. I mean, I know there's it's a fairly big scene down under, shall we say, and no, it's great to see them.
Sure is. We got a whole slate of things for you to do this summer, and all you have to do is go to racerci.com, RACERCI.com. Sign up today, get racing. After you do your pre-qualifying, easy peasy. And don't worry, if you miss a race or two, you can sign up mid-season, no problem at all. We had a couple of really late mid-season signups for Night Owl, and a couple of them put on a show as well. But let's get back to the race at hand today. We're going to be crowning 3 or 4 different champions. I've lost count, if I'm completely honest. But the big one up in front, Garrett Fischer, with that first win, I think has either taken the championship lead or has gotten very close. Every driver, Verstappen and Fischer, have used their drop round thus far. So neither one of these cars at this point are in danger of having that replaced. Basically, even with the drop round, what I'm telling you is this is a straight up fight for the championship. I have done the math. It is very rough math, but I'm pretty confident whichever one of these two drivers, the 78 or the 747, whichever one wins this race tonight is going to be your champion.
Yeah, no, it's all the more important that Verstappen doesn't allow Fischer the space to run away with this one this time round for race 2. I'm starting on the outside of turn 1. I mean, we've said it before, it's not going to be the easiest task for the 747 to keep the 78 at bay, or even find a way around. 40 minutes to do it. We're about to go green. I'm excited, Jesse.
It's going to be one of those. It's going to be an all-timer. Who wins the race down into turn 1 and then through the Mercedes-Benz Arena. They're going to be 2x2 here on the straight. It seems like forever, but the green flag is out. Even though you can't see it, the lights are on, and Fischer gets a decent start. But did Verstappen get a better one around the outside?
I'm not sure. Going down to the braking side of T1. Maybe it's a bit of contact there as the Aston's kind of banged out by side. Definitely contact there going down to T1. Fischer. Like you say, Verstappen just turning into Fischer there a little bit. That's allowing Fischer a little bit of a cheeky look on the outside. Verstappen trying to take the inside. And Verstappen now under pressure from Samir Fischer as well. And we were talking about this before. That's daily off as well. It's just absolutely... race 1, relatively calm and collected. That's Martin Lawrence in the wall there. A late joiner trying to get around the TCX cars. And yeah, no, that seems to be... Was that caught up in date? No, was that...
That was Tom Bryant.
That was Tom Bryant yet again.
Tom Bryant, yeah.
Martin Lawrence and Tom Bryant in the 2 different classes of BMW there. Obviously, first race was calm and collected going down into T1, and I think that's... I think that was a Cayman there. That was a Cayman, I believe. That might have been the Cayman. Right. Was that the Cayman of Adam Carlisle, I wonder? I believe it might have been.
That was,
dark for the drivers. It's dark for us in the booth as well. The 19 has a drive-through penalty. You can only assume that's a start infraction. It would be almost impossible to have gotten a drive-through for track limits that quickly into the race. It could have been a track cut as well. There are a couple of places where you can cut the track so viciously here. You get yourself a drive-through penalty, but you can see Eric here in the 19 just sort of getting out of the way through the Schumacher S's.
Yeah, I'd imagine that drive-through, they've been so early in the race, it would have been being out of position potentially at the race start there. Otherwise, I think that might be the quickest track limits penalty that we've seen here at RCI, Jesse, at least whilst we've been commentating together.
Well, if that wasn't off the initial start, Austin, that would definitely be a candidate for sure. I admittedly, I was looking sort of a little bit further up the grid because they were argy-bargy. They were side by side and crashing into each other basically for P3, and Something, though, has gone amiss with the Flying Hellfish 19, and they do not come in to serve that drive-through penalty. Now, normally I would say, yeah, you get 3 laps to serve it, folks, and I would normally give the benefit of the doubt that, sure, go ahead and try and make a pass if you want to, but here I just feel like you lose more time doing this. Nobody else, though, is going to come in, so maybe they're trying to have their fun while they can. Fischer leads Verstappen after a minor bit of contact through turn 1 through the first lap. Half a second gap for Fischer out front. Could this be the run of champions? Could this mean Garrett Fischer is your champion? We will see if Verstappen has anything left in the tank to get back to the Pulse Sim Sport driver.
You know, you said there, Fischer leads Verstappen there, Jesse, and that's not the words Verstappen will want to hear if they are watching this broadcast instead of driving right now. That means that those points are slowly running away. Here's the contact with Borodai and Daly, the 2 BMWs coming together. A race almost getting involved in the mix, and there's the Alpine of Tom Motz as well. I think we saw Tom Motz go off. It's Tom Motz tucking in behind Borodai, and drivers around them, like the likes of Verstraeten and Tom Motz and Verstraeten, very lucky to keep out of all of that as well. Obviously, when contact happens up the field, it creates this chain reaction that the cars behind have to avoid. And the 42 BMW of Tom Bryant has pulled into the pit, so I'm wondering if that's a retirement there.
That would have been significant damage, Austin, if I'm honest, with that impact and the crash that they had. And I wonder if maybe it's just not quite worth it. Also, Heilman all the way down here in P22. It's not gone well for them thus far. And Heilman has told me all season long that these cars, it's all about qualifying in the BMW touring cars because it is so hard to pass in these cars. There's never enough speed gap, even when a car gets a corner wrong, to get a gigantic run. It's all about lunges at that point if you can't get your qualifying right. Of course, Heilman has had a couple of qualifyings that I thought was pretty good, but he wasn't particularly amused, thought he could do a bit better, but gets that pass done, makes that one look easy, though.
Yeah, Heilman very critical of themselves as well. I mean, I think every driver can be. It's not just a Heilman thing, but no, we all think we can do a bit better sometimes, and that passion and that drive, that is what can help win races. And a little bit of a tap there from Heilman on Dominicus there. Not able to make any positions, doesn't spin Heilman around, but as we cut from the replay, Heilman has found a way around the 6 of the TCX of Dominicus. And as we cut to Borodai, defending off the likes of Stephen Key.
Well, I'm going to refer to my favorite race analyst, Ted Edwards. Ted, what was that bump about?
I wasn't looking. It could be anything, actually. It could be tyres. But then again, the track's optimum now. We were saying in race 1, Jesse, that the track went from green in qualifying and then it went to fast. And it never got to optimum in race 1. So obviously, I believe this is set on the same day, race after race. So there's some optimums. I'm not sure why there was a bumper search. It could be anything. Could be loss of control of car. We've seen a few of them. Not many really yellow flags. But yeah, it could be anything. It's like I noticed Heilman down in the bottom 3 because of Bryant in the pit lane, but he was pole in qualifying in TCX. So. Yeah. I don't know what's happened to him. There is no replay, unless it was from the first kerfuffle with Bryant and Lawrence having the crash. Apparently Bryant hit the dirt, and that's what caused Martin to hit him in the side, and maybe something happened from there. I'm not too sure, but
yeah, it was pandemonium at the front there, and obviously Bryant was P5 in class as well at the time of the incident, and obviously now no longer in the race. So it looks like Heilman just got caught up in that lap 1 melee, going down into T1. A very heavy braking spot for T1. It's very, the cars do bunch up, and unfortunately, these kinds of incidents, they are very very common. I think turn 1 at Monza and how notorious that can be. Well, T1 at Nürburgring has the potential to be worse.
It sure can. I've got a question for the both of you. Samir Foss driving that 888 KTM this entire season, and I know for a fact Ted and I looked at that move by Samir at the beginning of the season to take that car and win. Is that very wise? Because we know that KTM is underpowered and sometimes it is incredibly tricky to drive, especially in the wet. We'll start with Ted and go to Austin. Why has Foch been so successful in a car that most of us seem to think is unwieldy?
I'm not too sure. Maybe he's just got a bit of practice, or he just knows how to drive the car. Because I've driven the car around Laguna for a 6-hour race, and I'm saying that commentator's curse kicking in a little bit, knowing how to drive the car, knowing how to drift the car more like, losing 2 positions there to Razor and Borodai, but he's done so well, and like Monza he won, and I think that's unfortunate, but I didn't think this car had the speed, but Monza he got a pole and won, and that surprised me when I saw the results of that. As you can see here, it's so underpowered compared to these other 2 cars. Now Alpine's not the fastest, I don't think, but still, you know, not got that speed there. I'm not too sure, but he's done very well. You know, he got 4th in race 1 today. Was 3rd, but he got knocked down to 4th from Andy Boardman in the 69 Porsche. But yeah, I'm not too sure. It just seems like he knows how to set the car up and how to drive the car.
I think, Jassy, it comes to one word, and that one word is confidence. You know, carrying that confidence into Monza, running both races in a car, as you say, is underpowered. You know, we never saw it coming. You know, 1 race win, let alone the pole, and the 2nd race win on top of that. So, no, I think it is confidence. Samir Foch, very quick driver, knows their ability, and you know, kind of. I don't want to say selected a car at random, but maybe just sort of giving themselves maybe a slight handicap with the KTM. Just to try and generate a bit more kind of close racing for themselves, and I say it's a bit of a handicap, but they've still been incredibly quick with it. That, you know, being that KTM closest to the podium more often than not, and I mean that might just be the key reason why.
Well, it's like the both of you said, the car really doesn't have the best top speed. It really doesn't have the best handling. It's tricky in the dry. It gets worse in the wet, but we saw in the wet as the 19 has come down to the pit lane. Now, they would have served a drive-through penalty at some point. This ain't it. This looks like a retirement for Eric Arnecki, and that is unfortunate. That'll drop us down to 21 cars, but sometimes drivers just have an affinity for a certain car, and I wouldn't put it past Foch to have tried to do this season in hard mode. A lot of times drivers do get tired of driving the same car, and they know the ins and outs of it, and they know that they can be quick and that they can win with it. And sometimes you just want to let your hair down. You want to have a little bit of fun. You choose the wild cars. We had that happen when the 2nd generation of GT3 machinery came out for this sim, and people went back to cars like the obviously the V12, and they went back to the Jag, for instance, and the 2015 GTR, and they would race those just for an extra challenge, knowing that they didn't have the grip, the speed, the aero of some of the other cars. And you see people do that in the GT4 class with the Maserati hard mode. No aids in that car at all. Maybe Foch was doing a little bit of that in the wedge, as he calls it. 30 minutes left in the season. Quite early in the morning, but at the crack of dawn, we will be crowning a champion. Looking more and more like that's going to be Garrett Fischer, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Fischer, 2.5 seconds ahead of Verstappen now, and I mean, we've said it before, you know, Fischer having that clear air up front just means that they're able to bang those fast laps in, obviously holding fastest lap of the race. And Ted, you said something interesting in the last race. You know, at any point, this is not boring for the drivers. I mean, to us, we see 2.5 seconds ahead for Fischer, but in Fischer's mind, if they make a small mistake, then that's Verstappen breathing right out their neck again and able to potentially hold them up. So Fischer's able to, is having to put in these fast laps and keep it consistent as well, you know, knowing that they're not able to make a mistake like that. So again, as we cross the timing sheet again, or timing line, falling another half second onto Verstappen there, and Verstappen themselves 2 seconds ahead of Andy Boardman, 2.5 seconds even. So the top 3 just as spaced out as they were in race 1.
Yeah, I want to point out Fischer has Speedy's fastest lap again, but it's by a big margin over Verstappen, who is the second fastest lap. Verstappen has a 2:05.260, so you know that's pretty fast. Fischer did a 2:04.837, so what's that? 4 tenths faster, and that was last lap. So this Aston Martin's quick, and Fischer's quick.
Yeah, 4 tenths. I mean, that's a huge gap. That's, you know, in racing terms, that's about 6 months. But no, you see the gap there as well going down the start finish line. You see the headlights of Verstappen's car, and you see them on the track map. That is a sizable gap, and then it doesn't seem like all the racing doesn't happen until you hit the 69 of Andy Borden. But even then, that's a 1.3-second gap. So, you know, maybe we'll see a challenge, challenge Borden for P3 for the final spot on the podium. But we'll have to see later on in the race. But for now, I mean, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah, well, like you said, like I said, with it's not boring for the drivers. Verstappen can see Fischer right there. See, for us, that's ages away. Like, it's a bit boring. Let's go and see someone who's closer. But for Fischer, for Verstappen, it's like he's right there. Like, I can do this. Like, in his head, he's really thinking about this. And just noticed something. Bosch has left.
Bosch has left. They're not appearing on the scoring sheet. So that would mean that KTM we were just praising isn't with us anymore. So
Jordan Daly has just had an accident as well, coming out of the Ford curve. So pretty sure that's Jordan Daly. Let's take a replay, see what happens here.
Daly coming in
side.
Oh!
Gets clear and gets tapped there a little bit, sends him around.
Yeah, that was contact
with the Ford curve.
That was contact with the Cayman behind. I believe, was that Svencheck, as you were just saying there, Ted?
So
he just missed Svencheck. It was
Verstraeten, yeah. So there we go. The blue, white, and silver Cayman just tapping the BMW coming out of the hairpin there. So a lot going on, but yeah, no, I would never get. You know, as soon as we started thinking, as soon as we think that it's starting to settle down, more just happens as we see Raphael Hull making a move on Verona, coming down into the final hairpin. Not the final hairpin, going down just into the hairpin. Not able to get closer to pull up alongside and get pulled in by the camber of that corner, going through the Schumacher S's. 3 cars following each other. That's Verona, Hull, and Heilmann, and coming down towards the braking zone. I'm not sure if they're close enough to really make a move stick.
Heilmann's doing very well, let's be honest. Being basically last in all classes, and then making his way up in the T6 class. He's 5th overall at the minute. You know, Tom Bryant's not here anymore, so I believe Heilmann will take their place in the standings, but we'll keep you up to date. I'll try and get them uploaded as quick as I can. I'll probably
we're gonna have to, Ted, because I'm not.
I need to know.
My math. The last time we trusted my math at the end of I almost called it a Grand Prix, but at the end of a championship, what happened was I was off by 1 point. Ryan Mawson had won a night out championship by 1 point, but I had it the other way where he lost it by a point. So we're absolutely, before we sign off this evening, we will have you the finished championship points. We'll have driver interviews, etc. The lot at the conclusion of the championship, as always. I can't wait to see how it's going to shake out. I have been trying to do the math, y'all, and see how close it's going to be between Fischer and Verstappen. And it is obviously still going to be close if they finish 1-2, but it's not really going to be terribly close at this rate. Fischer will be the quickest, which we'll see. I just noticed something, that the fastest lap has disappeared from the board entirely, and it's not Raphael Huell that has it, because that's a touring car. Does that mean Samir Foch set the quickest lap and has left?
That would be a mic drop, wouldn't it, Jesse? That would be just an absolute slam dunk. Slam dunk. Screw this, I am out. But I'm not entirely certain. Fischer is flying up front, and even if Foch did have the fastest lap, Fischer has just regained it as well. I mean, looking at the start finish, 78 is going down into T1 now. So yeah, that would have been Gert Fischer resetting the fastest lap. and pulling ahead, extending the lead to 4.2 seconds ahead of Verstappen. So we're saying before, Verstappen was able to see Fischer kind of like showing a tennis ball to a dog, but I'm not sure if Verstappen has the pace to catch the rather quick tennis ball that is Kurt Fischer.
Now, this camera shows you what these GT4s look like on the inside, and the Alpine very much just a road car, as you can see. Obviously the steering wheel is the only thing that's really changed, and obviously some electrics, you take some stuff out, don't need some of that stuff, but he's still got the same, the original dash. It's not like they've just took it out and tried to weight save and just put like a lighter one in.
For the heads-up display there.
Yeah, it still does. It's still got most of the things in it that you would find in the road car, so it's not much different. I think it's got a little bit more power. Yeah, it's got slick tyres and probably a bigger brake disc for racing, obviously. But it's not really different from the road car. It looks very nice on the inside.
No, I think what they do with the GT4 cars for the most part is add the roll cage and all the safety equipment, rip out the carpets, and then just sort of retrofit it, so to speak, with the racing electronics. And even then, stuff like the TC and the ABS, I believe, is the same as the road cars. And as far as any sort of body modifications go in terms of aerodynamics and downforce, they might have regulations that you can only deviate from the silhouette of the car. So if you look at the car shape side on, you're only allowed to deviate so much with aerodynamic aids. At least that's not how I know it works in other forms of racing. So these cars are very, very similar to the road counterparts. Obviously, the engine's being tweaked and the balance of power being adjusted. Just keeps this racing close, and these cars obviously able to follow a lot closer than the GT3 counterparts. And then you see Raphael Hull giving, I think, who is that? The 921.
It's the other way around. That's Benjamin Heilman, who bumped the back of Raphael Hull.
Yeah.
And we've seen that a bunch of times, and I feel like I explained that earlier, but I'll just reiterate that Heilman has said that even as fast as he is, pole position, one of the quickest cars every weekend, even in the mid-pack of touring cars, it's so hard to make a pass that you have to get as close as possible and you have to dive them. Well, what he was trying to do there was get millimeter perfect to the back bumper of Huell's car and ended up tapping the back of him. Gets by him regardless. Yes, indeed, has gotten by Huell. It's dark, people. Do forgive us. But I think that was message sent accidentally by Heilman there.
Yeah, just a little bit better exit on the hairpin, and that can catch you off guard. You see Herman's brake is flicking on just a little bit later than Verona's there, so Herman really, really going for this. You potentially get a run down to T1. We will look on the back of Verona's rear wing, seeing Herman. It looks like Verona pulling a slight bit of a gap, but is Herman close enough to just slide to the inside and hit the brakes late? I'm not entirely certain. Herman following, tucking in the line, getting up to the rear wing, quicker in the mid corner. Will it be a better exit going into the Mercedes arena? This way you can make a bit of time and line up a move going down into, I believe it's turn 5. Herman looking to the outside, pulling side by side. Will it be enough to get by? I'm not sure it will. Herman taking a really compromised line, losing the time, and actually opening themselves up to an attack from Raphael Hull.
You can just see Heilman's very good in this M2 car. Better into the corners than Verona, as we see through, turn 2 just then, getting right on the back end, but then turn 3 was a bit wide. Obviously not really wanting to get too close, as we saw with Huell hit the rear end into the hairpin, but you see, side by side. The wrong side to come into the hairpin, but let's see what Heilman can do. Tucks in, goes for the switchback, looks like he's gonna make it, and up into P3 goes Heilman. So amazing driving.
So buttery smooth.
Yeah, that was textbook. And no, that's me just by taking altering line, kind of make the car front go defensive and compromise their exit. But by compromising their exit, you maximize yours, and that's entirely what Heilman has just been able to do. I mean, this is where Heilman's racecraft really comes in and proves they know what they're talking about, Jesse. They said to you about these cars being hard to race, and if anyone knows it any better, that it will be our boy Stewie. So Stewie moving up into P3 in class after a bit of a knock there in lap 1, but now able to chase down the likes of Bach
Ooh.
and Healy, and that's Verona pulling over.
Entry Verona has just pulled over their classic BMW. It's not a classic BMW, that's the name of the team. And they were in P4, and they have just pulled over. Now, that reeked of mechanical failure of some variety. Luckily, they were on the correct side of the track. They were able to get off like that, but very, very strange as they have fallen down the order. Something very wrong with that car, and they have left the racing circuit. Very strange, very spooky finale here to Thursday. You know, we before we know it, we will be coming up on the spookiest holiday of them all, but this ain't it.
No, and that's several cars now that have dropped out of this race, and all for various reasons. Some more understandable than others. Some being involved in contact and kind of asking what the point of carrying on really is, and then you have cars that we can say mechanical fail, but the truth is, right now we don't actually know. I mean, we can only speculate and guess and make educated guesses. So no, we're losing cars thick and fast as we're seeing Azure Goat again punching above their class weight. Several pro class cars between themselves and the second place silver of Van der Wood. But still chasing down Tom Watts, very close behind, and that Alpine not very quick in a straight line, not compared to the McLaren. And Azure Goat might be looking at making up another position overall here.
I'm going to go down to RCI's chief technical analyst, Ted Edwards, as your goat goes a little bit sideways in the first hairpin, and that will help Svinček catch back up. Ted Edwards, chief analyst, can Benjamin Heilman catch Bach for second place?
Oh, he's 1.5 seconds behind. I think he can. Looking at the lap times, they're pretty bang on with each other. 2:13's last lap for both drivers. Healy doing a 2:13.1. Obviously, Healy's 10 seconds of the road from Bach. Is it doable? 15 minutes left for the second lap. If you're lucky, second lap you'll make it up there. But for Harman and Bach for fighting second, yeah, I think Harman can. He just needs to get his laps down and hopefully not get a drive through for track limits. We have not seen that yet, Jesse. We didn't see it in race 1. We haven't seen it yet in race 2. But I have seen quite a few laps are been invalidated and some of them quite fast and not been counted as their fastest laps. But yeah, Hallman's last lap was a 2:12.2 and Bach's was a 2:12.9. So yeah, Hallman is steaming along. 7 tenths difference, definitely going to catch him. And only 8 tenths difference now between both of them. Yeah, he's going to catch up. Thing is though, it's like he said himself, it's really hard to overtake. You've got the same car. All it is the driver, the difference in the driver and how they drive the car. So I think Hardman will get second, definitely.
Yeah.
From touring cars to GT4s, Austin, is there anything Verstappen can do 6.5 seconds down to maybe do anything to force Garrett Fischer into a mistake or maybe catch back up? Is there anything Mr. Verstappen can do?
I think Verstappen just needs to put the hammer down, really. I mean, Fischer, with all the clean air in the world now, obviously Verstappen nowhere near. I don't even think Verstappen will be able to even see Fischer anymore. Looking down on the track map, maybe a little bit down this straight. But no, unless Verstappen gets the hammer down and Stroke or Fischer makes a mistake, I think Verstappen might have to finish for P2 in the championship with only 14 minutes of this race remaining.
There he is.
Wow.
All the way down there.
Thank you, Ted. You can just about make him out. He is the soft white blur off in the distance, and that's about all you get if you are Christoph Verstappen at this point. It has been a fantastic championship with memories for the 747, but today might not be it. They might have to settle for second place. We'll see as the gap continues to widen. Fischer looking like champion-elect here on the final race of the season. Juraj Svinček, who we talked about earlier, we saw Zergoat have that momentary issue down into the turn 1 hairpin. Goat has been able to keep it in front. Oh, but a big contact there by Svinček, and that's going to send Goat around. Svinček did wait, though, But that
Yeah.
was a very scary moment. What happened, Austin?
It just seems to be coming on corner exit. Venchek had the better exit and just didn't anticipate Goat having that slide on, and obviously losing time and getting quite the opposite of a good exit, really getting a bit of a poor one, and just got caught off guard by the speed difference of the two cars. It's it's not, obviously I'm not a steward, but I'd say that's more of a racing incident, so to speak. But did in fact have the good grace to sit and wait for Azure to get back onto the track, despite the fact that these are two different classes of cars, so no one would have really lost or gained anything in this situation. But Azure having the chance to defend from Svenchek once again for P8 of the overall positioning.
Well, it was a good drive by Goat, though you have to say, leading in their class, that silver GT4 leader Azure Goat, and that could have been really wrong if they would have hit that wall that was just off in the inky blackness of night. That would have been very different results for that silver class. And no intent there by Svenchek, I think we could all agree. But
Oh, of
for
course.
Goat to be able to get that in line and Svenchek to also wait, no real harm or foul, really. Goat's still the leader in the class with 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the rear tyres on that McLaren are starting to go a little bit, because that's the second time we've seen Azure just get a little bit sideways. So I'm wondering if it's a brake balance issue or whether or not it's just the tyres dropping off. I mean, it is a relatively cold track, so 18 degrees. So these cars, are able to push in temperatures like this. These cars, obviously, racing in general, the colder the track, typically, the quicker that you can go, and the more stress you put the tyres under. So I'm wondering if that is what has just been struggling with a little bit, as we see Benjamin Haleman going alongside Bok there into the final chicane, backing out, not able to get close enough and avoiding contact,
Oh,
but
he's got
again
him.
Here
able to
comes the
push him.
send.
It's the inside of the final
Oh.
hairpin. It's got to be it. It isn't. Bok pulling just ahead of Stewie there, and Stewie once again having to find another opportunity to try and take P2 from the back of the TCX grid.
Well,
A couple of moments there, Ted. I thought it was going to happen. Didn't happen.
yeah, well, you asked me the question, will Highland catch up? And, oh, yeah, one is yes, and two, will they overtake? I think yes, like, so close. He's mastered this car so well. We know him for the Porsche Master. He loves driving his Porsche GT3, but he's been getting along well in all the other, different cars, classic cars, and he's just shown us here that the M2 he's very, very good. Was tight, and yeah, he made it.
Yeah,
Gets bested.
I think Bok tried to take as an inside line as he could, but got it slightly wrong, hit the curb, unsettled the car, and despite being left so much room, Bok taking the rough inside there and losing the time with the position because of it. And Hellman's really showing what we're talking about earlier in terms of racecraft. It's not just raw pace, it's how you run with other cars, it's how you deal with these side-by-side situations going into corners. And Hellman, we've seen it so many times now, such a gentleman in some respects for leaving the room, and he'll never run you off the track. But at the same time, very fiercely savage as well with how they actually make the move stick. And when they try hard enough, that move will stick, as it has. That is P2 for Hellman in the TCX class from pretty much the back of the grid earlier on. Some of that will be people that have disconnected. Some of that will be just raw pace and catching up. But in the final closing 10 minutes, Dom Healy is still, around at last check, 36 seconds up the road. And I'm not certain. Can Hellman do it?
No, absolutely
no.
not. It's a tall old ask. We were talking about it, and it still rings true. If Dom has an issue, then we'll go back to it. But nearly 12 seconds in 9 minutes, not even Heilman can do that. You actually jogged my memory, Austin, of something about Heilman. You talked about a clean, respectful, leave the space kind of driver. And I have never met a racing driver with as big of a conscience as Benjamin Heilman. He will agonize over contact he made, even if it was slight. In a lot of cases, I hit that car, or I spun that car out with myself, or I locked up and got into somebody. I've never met a racing car driver with a conscience before, but Heilman, he takes it real hard when he makes mistakes, and he's had a couple of those in this championship, and it eats him up inside. But some really good close racing here in the dark through turn one, and Garrett Fischer now is having to navigate some lap traffic. Could this be the break Verstappen is looking for? It's going to have to be a massive mistake. 8.5+ seconds, as Fischer has to be really careful here, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, being held up in the Mercedes arena, not a whole lot of chance to get by. Pushing the T6 a little bit wide there. A little flash. I'm not sure if that's frustration or just as a thank you. It could be interpreted as both. Using all of the track there, you see the cones that went flying on lap one of both races, and that is why these cars are using that little lay-by there to open up turn. I believe it's turn 5. To get the best run out of it, and Gert Fischer able to do that so well. And I think traffic might be Verstappen's only hope here. And here we have Svenchek and Azurgo once again, and that was a little bit of contact that will just about keep Azure out of the wall. I think it might be the slight tap, but Svenchek and Verstraeten both getting by, and that will potentially leave Azurgo just 5 seconds ahead of the 38 of Van der Wood.
Oof, that is really tough racing, and I don't know what either driver was thinking in that particular instance, because if I had contact with any of them the first time, I would definitely consider I'm not racing them for position, and I would consider how much I have to lose. But they're racing it out, rubbing fenders. They won't get any other chances this season. Of course, the finale, as it were, as Ergo and Svenchek going completely side by side. And what was curious about that was obviously Svenchek has disappeared up the road. Like you said, Goat only has 5.5 seconds gap, and I worry about how much damage that Goat Dynamic Racing car has now. That 765. We'll monitor the gap in the final 6.5 as Heilmann now on the defensive for the first time this race.
Yeah, I will say in regards to Azure, well, that's Gert Fischer just squeezing past Heilmann there, getting involved in the top 3 battle there we're seeing with the TCX cars. In terms of Azure, though, I think Azure might be so far ahead in terms of points that even if they finish 3rd place here behind Carlisle, I think they might still have this championship, but we will have to see at the end. Don't quote me on that.
I get it. Azure racing everybody because they can.
I think so. Just
I do. Yeah. I'd do the same thing.
Well, we know those goats. You know, if you've ever interacted with a goat at a farm, Jesse, they will get up in your business. They will will surround you. They will gang up on you, and they will assert dominance over you in whatever way they can. And Azure turning up tonight, you know, no matter where they finish in class, I believe wins the championship, and it's the same mentality, just showing up because they can. So.
You must not know me. I am the silver champion of Thursday. Thank you very much. I think is the mentality of Azure Goats and the Goat Dynamics Racing team. I've been trying to spot this car and see the damage on it. There is a little bit on the nose, there's a little bit on the side, but it doesn't seem to be driving awkward at all, which is really good news for Azure.
Yeah, that will mean that they can hold up. And looking at the gap there, 5.8 second gap, up from 5.5. So even if the pace isn't quite up to what Azure's pace was before the contact, he's still seemingly quicker than the 11th place of Van der Wood. And that's still looking at a potential top 10 overall for the silver driver here. So, I mean, that's still a respectable finishing position.
Sure is. By the way, Gert Fischer, your leader and the holder of the Speed Juice Fastest Lap of the Race Award, looking to be crowned champion here in 4.5 minutes, only has the one additional lap car to pass, and that will be the touring car leader of Dom Healy, aka Dom GTR. And beyond that, they should be clear to the finish, as it's all going Pulse Sim Sports way now, Ted.
Yeah, sure is. And these two are still battling. It's nice to see the, you know, there's still some battles going on here and there. But to point out with Benjamin Heilmann, the reason why he was so far back is when Tom Bryant decided to clip the dirt and spin, he also tapped Stewie at the same time. And so I'm wondering if Stewie's got much rear damage. I'm guessing he got tapped on the rear and span round. So I wonder if he's got much damage. I bet he could be up there with Healy, because last race he was. You know, he's 12 seconds now. That's half a second he's lost after overtaking box. So yeah, I'm just thinking, you know, M2, they're all the same car. You know, if one gets a bit damaged, it's going to be not as great as the other one. So they're a bit of top speed gone. Oh, that was a little kiss right there from Andy Boardman. Yeah. That's something you don't want to do, but yeah, different speeds in those cars. That's what I get from that one. But yeah, I think Harmon could have took this today.
Yeah, I mean, another interesting point is how much damage actually affects these M2 Cup cars as well. Obviously, they're not very aero dependent, so a lot of the time when bodywork gets damaged, you might just break like a wing or a splitter or something, which will cost you time in the corners. But with these guys, it's really just kind of bodywork. So I'm wondering how much damage is even worth it in terms of like tenths per lap, in terms of how many you actually lose. As you see, that's Borodai taking it to Boardman, I believe, over P4, looking towards P3, only 1.1 seconds behind the 69 Porsche, getting by the TCX cars to continue the chase. And looking at the map, the 69 Porsche currently running the way down to the braking zone for the chicane, pulling a bit of a gap on the 98, so not able to really close it up, and not long of this race remaining to make a difference.
I have an extra little bit of insight into that, Austin, actually talking about the touring car and the damage. Well, the big thing that a lot of the touring car drivers told me pre-season, this was their first real championship in the touring car, and they were learning a lot early on about damaging the tires. That was the big thing. Do not damage, blister, or run in the tires in the first couple laps because they don't rebound on these touring cars. They just don't, and you're stuck with a slidey car. The second thing they started to learn as we got deeper into the season was you can damage these cars, and unlike a GT4 or GT3, it doesn't have the same feel, exactly like you were saying, Austin. It doesn't feel the same when it's damaged, but you're never quite sure how badly it's damaged or what exactly is broken on the race car, because it is a completely different aero profile and drivetrain than anything else. And of course, because you're going so much slower and the G-forces are less, etc., you don't get the same sensation when something is broken or damaged as you do a faster car. I've heard several of the touring car drivers tell me this season, well, I knew something was wrong, but I had no idea what it was.
And that's a really interesting point to note there, Jesse. That could mean that Hellman has really been struggling with the damaged car, especially with the spin. What did that do to the tyres of the car? And what has Hellman had to struggle with throughout the entirety of these 40 minutes? Speaking of 40 minutes, with less than a minute remaining, as we're seeing a race replay courtesy of Ted Edwards. That's Ardito with Boardman behind. Is that another contact? It was another.
One.
Oh, wait, no, that was going into the hairpin. So that was the incident we saw earlier. But and as we hear from the race engineer there, we are leader on the final lap. This is Gert Fischer for the final lap of Thursday Championship. And, well, Jesse.
Well, I got to tell you, Gert Fischer was in the wars this entire championship, and he's going to be awarded with an additional lap here because he got to the line so quickly. Everybody else hoping they have enough fuel. One final lap of the race for Pulse Sim Sport. What a championship it's been. Fischer has had ups and downs. He's traded the championship lead with Christoph Verstappen through the duration. Boardman has chased him, and Borodai as well. But it's looking like it's all going to be Fischer at the end of the day. And what a championship it's been. Had a huge race a week ago, and now is building on that. That put them back in it after the race in Britain, and needed a solid day today, and has done that, looking like a double win.
A double win indeed, Jesse, and building on the points scored, as you said, and no, again, from what we've seen of Fischer, apart from that one race at Silverstone, it's been a fairly, and at Monza, sorry, a fairly dominant run. And, I mean, you couldn't award it to a more deserving driver. But then again, you look at the top three, you got Verstappen, you got Boardman, you had Samir Forsh, who brought that KTM to that result that it did in Monza. We keep talking about, there's so many drivers that were deserving of a championship this time around. But let's not count this before it's finished. Fischer still has to cross the line to sort of lock this in. So, coming into the final few corners now.
Nameplate? Why is it OKE, do you think? I've just noticed that. Normally you do your initials. Is that DKE, OK? I wonder what that means.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ted, for that. Final couple of quarters on the season. And Ted, you ruined me, I'm afraid. Gert Fischer for Pulse Sim Sport has had a couple of fantastic weeks, scored a ton of points, got themselves in position to take the championship last week, and today is going to see that come to fruition. Gert Fischer is going to come to the line and be your Thursday Season 8 champion.
The leader has finished the race.
And just with the leader has finished the race commentary coming in there from the race engineer that you guys can hear. And no, that's Verstappen will be coming in P2 for Season 8. And, well, I mean, goes to show just how long of a gap that was. 12.1 seconds. And Andy Bodman, according to the timing sheet, a full lap behind, finishing a full 8 seconds behind, at least to the line. And Borodai 4 seconds behind, and a Razor coming in as well, also having been lapped. That will be Hellman coming in P2. Dom Healy will win the TCX class for this particular race. Bot coming in P3. So cars starting to lock in their finishing positions as Jurgo crosses the line. And it's been a heck of a race, guys.
Oh, boy, has it. Dom Healy, in all likelihood, I'm pretty confident in telling you, has won the Touring Car Pro Championship as your GOAT, as Austin mentioned earlier, had all but wrapped up the GT4 Silver Championship. And for all the other points tallies, we will bring them to you in just a moment's time. Everybody coming to the line, of course, Fischer, Verstappen, and Boardman, your top three in GT4 Pro. Silver is GOAT. Vanderwood and Carlisle are your silver podium finishers in GT4 Silver. And it's Healy, Heilman, and Bach in Touring Car Pro. Ted Edwards, what a championship, and what a finale.
Yeah, I was quite glad I was here today because that was some race. And yeah, race one was pretty chill, pretty, people had just done their qualifying, they just sort of need to relax a little bit. It wasn't really much fighting. There was obviously people overtaking each other and whatnot, but as soon as Jesse Lee joins for race 2, it all kicks off. There's contacts here, there's contacts there, but yeah, it was pretty mad.
Listen, don't blame me. I saw it was hotting up before I ever got here. Well, we're going to work on the championship points in the background, but for the time being, before we officially hand him the crown, let's at least talk to our race winner overall. Garrett Fischer with us, double winner here today, and according to our math, that makes you the champion. We're going to make sure we get that right. Fischer, tell us about your last couple of weeks, buddy. Absolute domination.
Yeah, it was fun. I was doing it as a fun championship, but when I saw I could win it, I got a little bit excited since I didn't do the first round. But yeah, it was very good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Well, Garrett, you were all over the place for this championship. You were on top of it. You basically had a one-on-one fight with Verstappen several times, not only on the racetrack but in the points as well. What was it like trying to keep your head straight of I've got to perform this week and I know the guy I've got to beat? What was your process like?
Well, you never know if you're gonna be faster than the other guy. I did a little practice. Like Monza wasn't that great, but then Silverstone brought me back in with Verstappen getting a drive through in the second race, because essentially it's all about the second race. The first race is not that important, seeing you only get times 1 points compared to the second race where you get 2 times. So yeah.
Did you ever start to panic when we went to Italy and it wasn't as good of a race as you expected it to? Let Verstappen back in. Was there any sort of panic knowing that you only had 2 races left?
Well, I don't know. I think I didn't have this tyrannical need to win the championship, but I think Monza wasn't that great. I definitely wasn't happy after that. I was like, I would have loved to do this flawlessly, but yeah, that wasn't happening.
Well, I gotta say, a very much well done and confirmed on our timing screens. Ladies and gentlemen, driver of the 78, Garrett Fischer, your champion overall and in the GT4 Pro class. Now, I'm gonna turn my commentary partners on you, let them ask you a few questions. Ted and Austin, over to you.
Sorry, Ted, you go first.
I was gonna say you go first.
Okay, I will go first, Ted. Thank you. Absolutely. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, completely dominant throughout. I joined Paul Ricard, and obviously watching you there. As soon as you got the space up ahead, you kind of ran away with it. Monza, a little bit more difficult, I could imagine. Obviously, conditions are very difficult there as well. Silverstone, I mean, race one. Do you remember back to race one, Silverstone, turn one?
Yeah. I think. Yeah. I lost it in turn 1, and then I went off to the left, which was a bit of a mistake. But yeah, that seems a thing with me. Whenever I'm in P1, and I have a gap, then it's okay. But otherwise, the pressure is quite high, and I'm very sort of. I can make mistakes still. So.
That's it. It goes to show as well that kind of consistency is kind of the key over pace, really, doesn't it? And if anyone's kind of looking at kind of like how to improve in your own driving, and I think Fischer is a great example of that. Just kind of keeping it consistent, kind of keeping it cool up front, and you're pulling these gaps of 12 seconds at the end of the first race, and it's kind of mega, really.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. And like in Silverstone, the second, that was very tight with me just being pretty slow in the rain, and Verstappen and Boardman were right on my rear end for the whole race. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, you're very good in this Aston Martin. I'm just looking here at the standings. 3 wins. You missed round 1, but like, how do you do it? Like, are you just good with the car? Have you practiced a lot with the car?
Well, I've done this championship twice before. Once with Porsche. It was like probably like a year ago, I think. And I just used to, and I did a lot of ACR at GPT4 like a year ago, so I'm just very familiar with the car. I just like the Aston a lot.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Well, that obviously we can see that from your results, and yeah, very well done today. Just plodding around at the front there. Verstappen couldn't get anywhere near you in that second race, and yeah, no, very well done for the win.
Thank you very much.
Fischer, you're an absolute talent. We love having you here on RCI, and you always make races interesting. And now I get to say officially, ladies and gentlemen, your champion of Thursday, Season 8 in the GT4 Pro category, Gerrit Fischer from the Netherlands.
Thank you.
Well, Fischer, from one champion driver to another, let's talk to the GT4 Silver champion. It was never really in doubt, was it, Azure Goat, at all? You were the fastest goat I've ever seen.
Like to think so myself, thank you. I do admit the win it doesn't feel as big of a win, just because unfortunately a lot of people signed out in silver. But so near the end, it was only a few of us left. But I mean, I'm the one who's here, so I guess I can't complain.
Well, regardless, in my opinion, you backed it up on the racetrack every single week. It was just tough to beat you. That McLaren just seemed to have a ton of pace, and you did a great job behind the wheel. What was your experience this season like in that car?
Yeah, good stuff. Found it a lot. I find it fits my driving style a lot better than some of the other cars. I prefer having the power on the straight, and I think it's one of the better cars on the straight. I'm just used to McLarens. I think they look cool, but generally really good in battles. Maybe a bit lacking through some of the corners, and had a bit more trouble in the wet rounds, but got what I needed. It got what I needed it to do.
Well, I gotta say, I don't want to take up any more of Austin's time than I have to. Austin, take it away.
I mean, in terms of, I said it from round 1 when I joined in Paul Ricard. Seeing how much you've improved. We had a small chat before the podcast even started. Seeing how much you've improved. It's been amazing to see. McLaren, again, interesting choice. Very good on the brakes, and it seems to be that you've been kind of punching above your weight a little bit as well, fighting with the pro cars on occasion. As sort of sad as it has been to see some of the silver cars back out, you've still been taking it to the pros this race as well, and small bits of contact here and there from the cars behind, but you still held your own to finishing with a top 10. So, how do you feel this race went?
I think the first race was a bit more textbook for me. Was able to keep it in shape, no real problems. Second race, not quite as ideal, as you mentioned, bit of contact here and there, but luckily had the pace to keep ahead of the people I needed to keep ahead of.
Well, I see here you almost did 100 points over Adam Carlisle, who got second. So that's pretty big points you got through this whole championship, and you got a few wins, Paul Ricard, Monza, and obviously today. But yeah, amazing driving. Yeah, unfortunately, you had a few kerfuffles with Svenchek. Do you think that could have been avoided? Obviously, you being the lower class, in silver, and they were in pro. Do you think you should have let them through? Is there anything you could have done different with the race as well?
Well, I could have let them through. I saw they were getting a bit impatient, but at the same time, we were all racing. In terms of my championship, I wasn't too worried. Obviously, I wanted the silver win today, but at that point, I was racing the pros, and sorry if it was infuriating them a bit, and occasionally there were some problems. But it is what it is. I was racing.
I love that answer.
No, that is absolutely the perfect answer. Racers here at RCI are allowed to race as long as they're on the same lap, regardless of what class that they're technically in. And Azir, you exemplified that throughout this championship, punching above your weight class at certain times as well. And I am proud to be able to say you are our Thursday GT4 Silver Champion here in Season 8. Congratulations, Azir Go.
Well, thank you very much. And I also want to say, great job commentating. I have really enjoyed watching all of your streams after the races.
Well, we appreciate that, and we enjoy watching you on the racetrack and watching the domination that was the silver class. It was amazing to see that McLaren do so very well. It strangely did my heart well as well. Thank you, Go.
Thank you.
Well, that's going to do it just about for the interviews today. Austin, Ted, in that order, final thoughts on the championship.
I mean, it's really had everything, hasn't it? It's had mid-season broadcasting team changes. It's had incidents. It's had racing. It's from our perspective, it's had everything you could want or ask for. It's been so fresh the entire way through. Each race has been so different, and I mean, it's been great. The final standings coming down to the wire, down to the last race. Our last races, I should say, and it's had everything, Jesse. I've loved every second of it.
It's been an absolute brilliant championship, and we promised you we would bring you the final standings, and we will do just that. These are the official final standings, pending post-race stewarding, of course, but we don't think any of that will have any effect on any of these positions. Garrett Fischer, who we interviewed a moment ago, the driver from the Netherlands, wins the championship, 372, and you'd be hard-pressed to believe that they came in needing points to win this championship over Christoph Verstappen, who will have to settle for second place. Andy Boardman makes out your final podium spot in GT4 Pro. Outside of that, Alexander Borodai and John Arazer are your top 5. Stephen Kwai, Samir Foshwu, Stevenson Verstraeten, and Svenchek, your top 10 in the Pro category. Outside of the top 10, Watts, Lawrence, Daly, Kaladiad, and Ikit are your finishers there. The 14th and 15th driver, of course, retired from the championship. Moving on to silver, Azir Goat had a fantastic championship in that 570 McLaren, and he absolutely dominated in certain aspects, and it was an absolute thrill to watch. 391, I think, is the highest points total we will see on the board today. Adam Carlisle in second place, and Bart Macha in third. Alexander in fourth place is the only other driver that has remained in the championship. Everyone else, of course, has retired. Moving out of GT4s into Touring Car Pro, it was a hotly contested championship from the jump. And Dom Healy, who wasn't even signed up for the first round, joined us mid-season and played the spoiler, if we're honest. The British driver, Dom GTR, with 384 over Benjamin Heilman, 303, who was considerably frustrated this season by a lot of the extracurricular things out there on the track as well. And still gets second place. An excellent recovery, if I may say so myself. Marco Ripper in the 666 is third with 264, and those are your podium spots. Christian Bach and Tom Bryan round out your top 5, and Vanora in the 6th place. Waldecker, Huell, Dominicus, and Eric are your top 10. Outside the top 10, Alessio Ardito and Yanyo are the only drivers with points. Of course, the other two drivers, of course, retired from the championship, including Vincey Rachanov, who we thought could be a championship contender very early on. Here is the AM class. Only two finishers here. Ian Marshall takes the championship over Jenna Sommer, and that is everyone that finished the championship in AM. Congratulations to them as well. Now, Ted, with that done, final thoughts on the championship.
Amazing. Like it's nice to see two slower class uh cars basically is what it is. You know, GT4 and your TCXs fight against each other because you're not going to have that. They lap them once, but that's it. Whereas if you had a GT3, you'll be lapping GT4s pretty quickly in 20 minutes and 40 minutes. So it was nice to see slower cars, especially a Cup class car, fighting against each other because that's very hard and very enjoyable to watch. And that's not to say that GT4 wasn't enjoyable either. You know, it had some good racing in there as well, and unfortunately some incidents. But yeah, overall, it's a very good championship.
I had a lot of fun filling in when I could for the Thursday champ. It was quite interesting to watch as well. I always say that the Thursday champ's the one that, even though I'm not on the broadcast at all, it's the one I watch simply because it's unpredictable. We had a championship lead here in the final week, and all the drivers in the classes going nose to tail and side by side, 3 and 4 wide, even when it's ill advised to do so. And that's exactly what you're going to get when you get GT4s and touring cars. Huge success, in my opinion. A lot of excellent racing throughout this championship. It is now officially over, of course. Bittersweet as always, but don't fret. More racing on Thursday coming at you quite soon. In fact, currently unannounced, but we'll have information in the interim when you can expect Thursday champ to be back. It's not on my list, so I'm not going to say anything lest the admins will yell at me. But I can tell you about the Porsche Cup USA edition, that on Monday. That's starting this very Monday, still time to get involved with that before the championship goes live. The Friday GT America Challenge. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the start of that championship. And of course, the APAC Piston Cup starts next Tuesday as well. That'll be hosted over on Twitch. We'll get you some links for that when that starts. And of course, the Night Owl Summer Break, not broadcasted that Night Owl Summer Break, but you can sign up for that championship. It's Night Owl, baby, but not season 11, as we're all in a mid-summer break, if you will. Some minor championships going on, highlighting all of the American tracks. And of course, the 8 Hour of Indianapolis race that's coming up on, I think that's July 23rd, is when that race is in. And you can sign up for that right now as well. The upcoming Thursday championship, Thursday season 9, not taking an interim break. That will start August the 4th. It will involve Indianapolis, Brands Hatch, Coda, Alton Park, Watkins Glen, Donington, and it will be back to a 60. I actually don't know what I'm reading here. It's way too much information, but the Thursday champ will be available quite soon. Ted, do you have more insight on the Thursday champ?
The only thing I've got is what you've just said there. It says one race with a pit stop format. I'm not sure if it's going to be a 40-minute or a 60-minute, but Tom Bryant didn't give us that information.
Apparently, there's also going to be a Thursday one-off on July the 21st, 60-minute Ferrari Challenge race. Those are those Ferrari Challenge cars at Bathurst, proving once again that Tom Bryant is a sadist.
Get me in that Ferrari.
That's going to be absolutely fun. That's going to be so much fun to watch those cars. They're going to be so fast down the mountain and all the different straights, but they're going to be an absolute bear up the top of the mountain. Tom Bryant, the sadist, think him on your way out. He drives a red Saab. Feel free to get that to him. But no, racing everywhere here on RCI TV. Go to racerci.com, RACERCI.com to get information on how to sign up and what we're racing in the month of July. We'll see you tomorrow night. But before we sign off tonight, a big thank you to our partners. that make this race and every race possible. RaceDepartment.com, your source of sim racing news and information. AK Informatica for providing our server solutions. Driver61, get 25% off your driver coaching by going to driver61.com and using our discount code. Driver coaching can make you a better sim racing driver, and it has done wonders for some of the members of the admin team here at RCI. Also, simracing.gp. If you're tired of the pub racing scene or can't get enough sim racing, sign up on simracing.gp. Get racing in a community today. Signing up, of course, is completely free. And of course, Fanatec and fanatec.com. Feel free to use our affiliate link when making purchases of quality sim racing hardware and direct drive equipment at fanatec.com. Doesn't cost you a thing. It tells them that we sent you, and it may help us with things like server cost when you use our link. Well, what a championship it is, and what a championship it's been. Sad to see it go, but it has done. Just a big thank you to everyone here in the broadcast department that has made this race and every race possible for us. It's been a huge undertaking. Ted Edwards has been with us, Austin Devonshire. I've been in here, of course, Christian Stricker, and who would not be remiss if we forgot Mr. Tim Peck, who's away on assignment now. But a huge undertaking, but we wouldn't have missed it for the world. A big thank you to everybody. Of course, our stewards who handle all the stewarding afterwards, and the admins, and of course, the big one, all of the drivers that made it so interesting. Folks, we'll be back with more racing on Thursday in just a few short weeks. Blink and you'll miss it. And until then, I've been Jesse Lee with Austin Devonshire and Ted Edwards. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.